Hi everybody, I'm Wonder Woman is Real, and I decided that I wanted to try to do some makeup tutorials for our YouTube channel and to really try to help promote the Real League of Justice, which is the vision and mission of helping children across the world. I'm not going to get into it too much today because I really want to get it to the tutorial, but basically our goal is to create an environment and a movement across the world that helps children with special needs. And when I say special needs, I don't just mean physical or mental, but also emotional disabilities, in that sometimes their families can be having crisis and that can cause them to have special needs. But overall, just families that are having to deal with some really difficult situations. Obviously, for me, the easiest one to address, just because of my knowledge base, is children with special needs, as in having a disability. I am a special education attorney by trade, a disability advocacy attorney, and I've always been very vocal about people fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the makeup tutorial. First thing you're going to notice is that I have no makeup on at all. So this is what I look like. I have my own skin conditions that I have challenges with. And I really wanted to do this makeup tutorial for a couple of reasons. One, because I think it's important for people to know that everybody has their challenges and their flaws that they're working with when they do makeup. Another is I have never learned how to do makeup from anybody. I mean, I've watched a few YouTube tutorials like every once in a while when I've tried to do something really challenging, but in the end, usually my makeup creations are my own, and I've just kind of, even the body paint, when I did my She-Hulk, that was my second time doing body paint. The first time was to Superman is Real, and we did a mashup with Superman and Michael Corvin from Underworld. And that was really fun to do, and it turned out really awesome. So I really just go by instinct. I don't have any art background. I've never taken art classes. I'm not an art major. I don't have an art degree. I don't have a makeup artist degree or anything like that. But most of my life, I've always loved the arts. I've always loved to perform in some way since I was a little girl. And I think that's kind of why I've really enjoyed coming in this direction for you guys. So anyway, third reason is there's a lot of amazing Amazon sisters out there, and I know a lot of people really love the Bombshell Wonder Woman look, and I know that there's always different takes. I mean, even when you look at the comic book, there's different versions of how her makeup even looks, but there's some uniform looks about it that make it look very 40s pinup-y. So one example that I'm going to try to use today is the very common one where she's breaking chains in the Rosie to the River look, and it's this one. So I like to have a picture with me of the reference of what I'm trying to replicate with makeup. So if you can have a picture of what you want, or you can just watch this tutorial and hopefully it helps you. I will tell you, I'm never completely uniform in my selection of makeup and products. I go very inspirational in that I can sometimes adjust with how I'm feeling or what I'm doing. So just because you might see me using some products today, that doesn't mean I won't shift my eyeshadow or shift some product. But there are some products that I stick to just because I've been used to them for most of my life. And one of those would be my Estee Lauder makeup. I use their product a lot. No endorsements or anything like that. But I really find that their products are really good at trying to give that flawless look. So that's my foundation. It's so used and so taken to cons that I need to get a new one. I'm just realizing, and mostly because look, there is like no word on it, so I can't even tell you what it is. It doesn't even say it on the bottom. So anyway, that's the foundation that I'm going to be using. I'm very self-conscious, so seeing myself right now on camera with like no makeup on is very nerve-wracking for me. So anyway, first I start with the foundation. I use either a brush or a sponge. I used to be of the school of the brushes, but I found that they tend to leave a lot of strokes on your face. So I've been using sponges lately, but one that I've been really trying to start getting a handle on is these. I've noticed a lot of Harley Quinns use these when they do their white makeup. So when I do like white or green or colored makeup, I usually try to buy some of these that I can throw away, because washing them, especially with green, is gonna be a challenge unless I want to save it. I love doing Wonder Hulk, but the problem with her is that she got everywhere, even with setting spray. So I'll be talking about some of my hats and adventures and ideas that I've gotten through this process, like setting spray, and how important it is to set your makeup, I believe, throughout applying it. So anyway, let's start with our foundation. We have this sponge, and so what I normally do is I put the makeup on the sponge and then I pat. What's nice about sponges versus brushes is that they can give you a much more flawless look and make your skin look more smooth. Like I said, the brushes have a tendency to leave strokes on your skin that you end up having to try to get out, and that's not something you want to have to deal with. Basically, your foundation, I always moisturize first, so you didn't see me put moisturizer on, and I didn't think you really needed to. But I think you should always, from my experience, put moisturizer underneath your makeup. For me especially, it's funny, when I was a teenager, I had very oily skin, especially my T-zone. And now that I've gotten older, it's become very dry. Adding to that the fact that I've developed a rosacea, it's funny because sometimes I don't even have to wear blush. My rosacea is that bad. And people think that I just have blush on. And really my skin is just red. The difficulties with rosacea are that it causes my skin to look uneven and blotchy. And worst of all, it causes rosacea acne. So even though I'm supposed to be beyond the age of acne, I still get pimples because of my rosacea. So, putting on the foundation, definitely make sure you apply a good light coat on your eyes. I think a really big mistake that I used to make is that I used to, and then the other really nice thing is that you can roll it too to make it look smooth. A really big mistake that I used to make was I used to not put foundation on my eyes. So a little bit of trivia about me. When I first started cosplaying, which was in 2016, I never even thought I was going to be a cosplayer. I really actually didn't even know what that was. As you know, I'm an attorney and I worked for senators and had an interesting career. I was an attorney for the state of California for a while. And so I always had to look professional. I've always hated makeup. It's ironic, I'm doing a makeup tutorial. So I don't like wearing it. And if you ever see me in public, not in cosplay, I'm usually not wearing makeup because I don't like it. I mean, I just don't like having all that stuff on my face for no reason. I feel like, actually, when I first started, I didn't really wear much makeup at all. If you ever see any old pictures of me when I would just put on a costume and go to a con, I used to try to get away with not wearing makeup in cosplay, just like I did in real life. But then when I started actually becoming a cosplayer and really enjoying the art and the community and all of my amazing friends that I've made along the way, I learned that makeup's just as much an important part as hair and your costume in accuracy. So it really helps make the character, especially the more that I've evolved with how I've learned how to do makeup. I've learned mostly how to do makeup because of cosplay. wanted to figure out how to maybe get that look, and I realized there's pretty much no tutorials out there on how to do Bombshell Wonder Woman makeup. So, I mean, you can always do like pinup makeup. I'm sure there's stuff out there for that. Again, I just figured out how to do it myself, so I really think it's important that you, for me, it's getting the image or the comic and trying to replicate it. I really try to take as best of a picture as I can of my character, whether it be a real person like Linda Carter, and then use that to just paint that layer onto my face. So always try to grab a clean sponge, because you're basically reapplying all of those oils from your face over time, which builds up bacteria. And bacteria on your skin often means pimples. Again, why I don't like makeup. I don't like pimples, and I don't like crap on my skin. And so that's why there's ways to obviously wear it every single day, but I would just rather let my skin breathe most of the time. Basically a light layer of pressed powder to just kind of set it. It's almost like it's on setting spray. There's so setting spray or setting powder is often used when you apply makeup to basically make it look smoother and more flawless, but also most importantly to keep it from coming off. Before I cosplayed, I had no knowledge of it, and so I would go out throughout the day when I did wear makeup, and it would always go crappy. It would start fading and cracking and coming off. And so obviously when I learned the miracle of setting spray from Hero Hair, I realized how important it was to use setting materials to keep your skin from absorbing, which is also why I recommend putting on the moisturizer, because it helps your skin be moist before you put the makeup on. If your skin is like mine, what will end up happening is your skin will actually absorb the makeup as a moisturizer, and then it'll cause it to be even more blotchy because it will do it unevenly. Your skin will have different parts that are requiring moisturizing, so it's better to put your moisturizer on first, let it sit for a little while, and then start putting your makeup on. Okay, so there's one layer of my makeup. Looks really pale on the video, but it's actually really, well, it's pale, but it's a little more flesh colored in person. So I tried so hard to get lighting that would be able to show what my skin looks like in real life. But a product that's at a lot of Targets and online that's not expensive is e.l.f. So I use that a lot of times for colors. So you can use either an eyeshadow brush, or for me, I actually like using like a foundation applying brush to put on the first layer of eyeshadow that's more of a, I don't know, cream form. And I basically try to cover as much of where I want the color to be. And for Bombshell Wonder Woman, that goes all the way out to the eyebrows. Well, it usually is for most characters, but especially for that. So I use the lighter shade. This is Butter Pecan. For the first layer. I am someone who tries to learn things all the time, new things, so acquiring information is a turn on for me. I love learning new things from people. The biggest problem I have now is just the time. I don't have a lot of time for anything. I'm constantly doing a lot, which is, and then the darker side, sometimes I use it just like right at the corners, because we're doing a lot more of this with the actual powder. So I start from the corner and I go out, and then I go along the line of the lid a little bit, and I go out. Because I do the same thing with the eyeshadow that's darker later. I found that a lot of comic looking characters, for example, also like when I did my mashup with Morticia, I used the similar brow line, lid line, sorry. It helps accentuate the eye while keeping the brighter color on the lid so it doesn't get lost into the eyeshadow. I think it makes the eye look more open and bright, but I don't know. So that's the first part. Apply again, starting at the lid, at the eyebrow line. The brighter that you are near the eyebrow, the more it makes the rest of the eye pop. And if you're someone who's into contouring, which is something that I do now, that's also where you want the highlighting to be. Again, another trick I learned from drag queens. You'll see me going back to that brow line again and again for that very reason. So. One good coat. It's almost like putting foundation on again. And then contouring starts. So I get the same eyeshadow and I put it inside. What I'm gonna start doing now is building up the contouring to make my nose look more defined. So you'll notice with a lot of the powder side of my makeup, I do use a lot of brushes. I'll use foundation brushes sometimes. I'll use blush brushes. It really depends on what flavor I'm trying to get out of what I'm doing, but I do find it more helpful that when you're contouring, you use bigger brushes than just an eyeshadow brush. I don't get to the smaller eyeshadow brush until I start applying the darker eyeshadow powders. You can't really, I don't think, overdo this phase. And you really don't know where you're gonna want your contouring to end up kind of shining out more. So I just kind of just keep going all the way down. Probably other products can be used by folks for contouring, but it's really just colored powder. There's different shades of flesh color, so that's why this palette for me of eyeshadow really works, because I can really pick and choose what colors I want to be able to use for the effect that I'm trying to get. So when it comes to this color, I tend to just avoid the shadowy line area, like where you're gonna end up putting the blush, because it's kind of a waste. Like I said, it doesn't hurt to overdo it, but I mean, to just put it somewhere where you know you're not even gonna put it, it doesn't make any sense. So, and if you've noticed, it's really helped my blemishes get hidden already, which is really awesome for pictures. But believe it or not, I'm a really huge proponent, except for when I'm doing something like a Sith Wonder Woman or like a full body paint job. I'm really a big proponent of trying to look as natural with the makeup as possible when you're meeting people in person, because I mean, no one likes to look like they're using a paint roller to put their makeup on. I don't like to be really thick, so sometimes that's to my disadvantage in pictures. What's up?
Holy moly. What are you doing?
I'm doing a makeup tutorial, Batman.
That's fantastic. You look like you're done.
I only put these are the base colors.
Fooled me. Can I have my phone?
Oh crap, I didn't put music on. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I was gonna put music on.
Looking good. I think you're done. Less is more.
Thanks, Batman.
Anytime.
What you up to, Bruce?
Being productive, you know, like, I gotta make copies of forms for the board meeting we have later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, money to be made.
Okay. Thanks, Batsy.
Anytime. Don't tell me.
That you were here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Next. Is the next shade I like to use is like a pink. It's like a flesh pink. In this palette, it's called Pearly. That's the next layer of kind of natural skin color I try to go to. So at this point now, I'm putting this on the lid, because in the end, I'm gonna want a lighter color to pop on the lid so the eyes look more open and comic book like. So it's my second. Obviously you guys can use your own products for this. This is really, like I said, I even change up my shadows depending on how I'm feeling that day, or if I forgot my palette. One thing that I've learned with makeup and cosplaying is that it's already stressful. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had to take 4-5 hours getting ready when I didn't expect it to take that long. And to then turn around and then have to be late because of travel or whatever. And so a lot of things can go wrong. There's so many things you have to remember about your costume. And so an attitude I've really tried to bring for me when I'm getting ready is that everything happens for a reason. And it's always held true. If something is missing, if I forget something, I have to replace it. Unless it's super, super, like, you can't even be that character without it. Like, let's say I forget my tiara. I usually just tell myself it happened for a reason. And it always ends up working out. I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten something, or I've made a mistake on my makeup, and then my correction actually ended up making it better. Fixing the problem that I messed up on actually created a new design. So like a lot of my Sith Wonder Woman makeup has changed over time, and I don't think I'll ever do it exactly the same each time. I think that's what also makes it more exciting and fun for me. But I feel like when I was having problems with the black and having to make it defined and add some definition with some of the red and blue around it, that whenever there was a mistake that I had to fix and I had to go in and add some color somewhere else to camouflage the mistake, that the repair made it look even better than the original look that I was looking for. So I try to go with the flow. So if you forget something, you don't have something, just use something close to it. It doesn't have to be exact. I mean, if you think about it, even with the comic book character, you're getting different versions, but also like, what is that? Is that brown? Is that orange? Is it pink? You know, I don't know. So depends on what I want it to be that day. Okay, so the next layer is a little bit more of the gold, because again, that comic book has so many different interpretations of what that color can be. So what I try to do is kind of play with the different interpretations while I'm applying it, so that I can try to give the effect of like, wow, you stepped out of a comic book. So I'm putting a little bit of gold. Like a goldish pink. Champagne is what this palette calls it. And then if I really like that color, I'll take it down into my contouring too. With the lighter shades, I try to stick to the higher part of the cheek. And I kind of go in circles. And like I said, you'll see me use this brush. Sometimes I will use my round, this brush. There's no real exact science to it all. I mean, I'm sure for some people, but whatever gets you what you're looking for is really all that matters. And again, as someone who's not a professional, I don't have the time or the money to have a full, I mean, okay, I have a lot of makeup now, but to have a full kit of everything that I need brush-wise and makeup-wise. So, I mean, you make it work. You could use a sponge to put on the powder if you needed to. I mean, heck, there have been times that I've forgotten brushes and I've had to put on makeup somewhere, and I will just put my finger and put it on that way if I have to. So, you do what you have to do, but don't feel like you can't do it just because you're missing something. Also, for some definition, I try to put a little bit on the jawline. Even the most defined jaws can blend into your flesh, your neck flesh in pictures. And so then you can start looking like you have a double chin when you don't have one. So I try really hard to do as much of a natural shading along my jawline. And then I have my own hang-ups about my own face. So you'll see me try to compensate them with makeup. For me, it's my chin. I feel like it's pointy and it sticks out too much. So I do try to blend that pointiness in as much as I can. Blend in a little bit of shading in the jawline. Don't overdo it unless you're doing like major close-up pictures and you're not really going to a con or anything, because it can look dramatically cakey if you put too much on your jawline and if you go too dark. And then whatever I do there, I try to take to the outside of my face a little bit for the same reason. Just think of your face as literally a canvas drawing, and you're just trying to blend in natural colors to give it dimension. It's actually my favorite part of this, is going around the edges of my face. And again, this is still not even a dark color yet. So, which is actually better, like I said, when it comes to the jawline, because you don't want these areas to look overly caked on with a bunch of darkness. Just look like you freaking put a bunch of dirt on your face or something, on your chin. There's definitely purpose for it, so don't get me wrong. I'm not judging that it's a bad thing to have a dark line, but it's a little bit less something you want to be seen when you're doing personal appearances. And then I'm going to take the same color, put a little bit on the forehead. I often wear wigs, so I actually have to do all of this before I apply the wig, because most of my wigs take wig glue, and a lace front, and lace fronts, especially when there's wig glue included, often start picking up your makeup. And if you don't do those edges before you put on the wig, because sometimes I think it's easier to just put on the wig, you'll end up missing a whole bunch of your face. So a little bit of the light stuff and put some more in here, and then down. It's always that line of the nose. So my other self-conscious part of my face is my nose. Okay, what's awesome about this palette, it's a lot of different shades. So next I'm gonna go to a darker shade. I'm gonna go to Rust. Actually, I'm gonna go to Mauve. So Mauve's a little bit on the pink side. I'm gonna go back in and finish up some of the eye color. You'll see that with me, I put a lot of different shades into what I'm doing. Again, for depth and contouring. And because there's no completely clear interpretation of what colors are in the comics. And then you've got makeup like Gal Gadot's in the movie, and looks so natural, but it's still filmed. So you know she still has to have a decent amount of makeup on. I can't tell you, sometimes I'll put a ton of makeup on and then I'll get a picture and I'll be like, that still doesn't look like I have makeup on. And in a bad way. I mean, obviously it's good to look natural, I think, but. So I'm going to be, actually, the other reason why I like to use the pinker colors is for the upper part of the cheekbone. I like my blush on the upper side to be on the pinker side, so that you don't lose the rosy cheek reasoning behind your makeup in the first place. I always felt like the whole purpose of blush was just to make your cheeks look rosy, like you just exercised or something, or had some sun. I take it all the way down to here. It's funny, the more colors you use, I feel like the more natural it looks. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm just delusional. I mean, because in the end, it still looks like you're wearing makeup, a lot of makeup, at least in person. Again, that's the balance with pictures. It won't look like you're wearing a lot. It will not. So it's a real challenge to balance when you're at a convention, pictures looking like you're wearing makeup and giving that screen accurate look to your character while still not looking like in person you're a big makeup monster. Next is the darker colors. So I'm gonna go to Rust and Old School. And then blend up. So it blends with the pink. Oh, if you didn't hear me. Where the contouring really begins. For me, I feel like it's once you start putting the darker colors in, you gotta really measure yourself because it can get hard to stop. Using your own smile lines really helps. See, it's always good to have your hair back, but those little hairs, oh, frustrating. Okay, so it's really hard with this lighting to get the, I also recommend if you can, unless you're gonna be knowing that you're gonna be going out just for the nighttime, so then you definitely wanna have a bright light like this, is using natural lighting for conventions when you're putting on your makeup. So then putting some of this down here. So at this point now, when I'm putting the darker colors, I'm gonna put them near the bottom to help again draw that line between the face and the neck, because in photos it doesn't matter how skinny you are, it still can look less than attractive when your face blends in with your neck. Okay, and then lastly, you can add, if you want, a little bit more darkers in there. I have a plum here and an espresso here, and depending on how I feel and how dark I want to go, I would go to one of those next. I think for today I'm just going to use the plum. The darker, the less you want to use, because it'll show even more. So I tend to stick more to the line and blend down a little. This is so much less distracting than a live feed. I don't know how you guys do makeup on live feeds. Talk to people while you're doing your makeup. And obviously, there's not a whole lot of definition on her cheek, but still, it's the same theory that I gave you earlier about pictures. And it's really hard to create an illusion and just have your face be plain flat. When it comes to doing finer things like your eyes, you want to use the eyeshadow brush now. And the more defined and more fine the lines that you need to be drawing in or creating on your face, the smaller the brush. So right now, it's still a very general color that I'm going to be adding right now. I could go pink, I could go orange, I could go brown, I could go gold. So I think what I'm going to try to do is this brownish gold that I have from Estee Lauder. It's another palette. It's their Pure Color Envy Sculpting Eyeshadow